That's sad. That's sad. So this dude been clout chasing since he tried to tell the Geisha black girl, tried to tell her that me and him was a thing. Back then, I checked him back then. So when I realized that his age got all this stuff about me on his past,
Y'all, listen. When it comes to Claressa, I'm starting to get a little soft spot for her. I really am. I really feel sorry for her.
She didn't hold back and openly admitted that she had been involved with another woman's husband, even presenting it like a personal win. For a short time, it seemed like everything was working in her favor, as social media became fully consumed with the drama and people followed every update like a real-life series. Many believed she was controlling the narrative and shaping public opinion, with her name constantly trending online. However, as more details emerged, the situation began to look far more messy and disrespectful, leading many viewers to turn against Claressa Shields.
and like I said, we really spent time together on Christmas.
As more details gradually emerged, people started viewing the situation in a very different light. What initially seemed like typical online drama began to appear more complex and serious, with each new revelation adding depth and changing how the audience interpreted the events. It stopped feeling like simple internet gossip and instead resembled a real personal situation unfolding publicly over time. Eventually, it seemed as though one side had regained control of the narrative, while the other was met with increasing backlash and heavy public scrutiny. Throughout it all, Claressa Shields never attempted to keep the relationship quiet, openly referring to him as my man in interviews, live streams, and social media posts, repeating it so often that it became part of her public identity, while audiences closely analyzed every update and statement.
Felt sorry for Claressa when she was in there blowing a bag, 30,000, and then she had to take the bag.
The situation grew even larger online as more people across social media began discussing it. At first, the relationship appeared solid from the outside, but gradually that image started to break down. Fresh rumors and circulating reports added more tension and complexity to the story. It was also claimed that Tasha K had shared details that aligned with what many online users had already been speculating privately. According to these reports, Papoose was no longer involved with Claressa Shields and had returned to his wife, Remy Ma. Sources close to Remy Ma also claimed that he quietly went back to New York City and focused on repairing his marriage without making any public statements or offering an explanation to the public. After that, things suddenly went quiet, but the silence only made everything feel even more intense and dramatic. Online users began noticing that Claressa Shields appeared to be spending Christmas on her own while also sharing glimpses of luxury purchases reportedly worth around $30,000. At the same time, fresh rumors circulated that messages were being ignored and phone calls were going unanswered, fueling even more speculation. From an outside perspective, it looked like the relationship was gradually collapsing in full public view. What should have remained private had turned into an openly discussed emotional situation, constantly analyzed by thousands of people online, and as the story continued to unfold, yet another layer of conversation started building across social media. Many social media users began comparing Claressa Shields with Remy Ma, highlighting perceived similarities in clothing styles, jewelry, hairstyles, captions, and even how their photos were posed online. At first, these were just small remarks shared by a limited number of users, but as time passed, the discussion expanded significantly. Eventually, a wider narrative started forming online suggesting that Claressa was intentionally mirroring Remy Ma's image and lifestyle. The situation became even more heated after reports emerged claiming that Claressa had gotten Papoose's name tattooed. Despite the growing online attention and speculation, Remy Ma remained composed in public, frequently appearing with her family, wearing her wedding ring, and maintaining a confident presence as though her surrounding controversy had no real effect on her. Photos and reports claiming that Remy Ma and Papoose were still spending time together or even living under the same roof added more confusion to the entire situation. Many people who had already assumed their marriage was fully over began questioning whether that was ever truly the case. Soon after, additional claims circulated online suggesting that Claressa Shields might not have been the primary relationship involved after all, with some believing she was part of a temporary situation while the marriage between Remy Ma and Papoose continued quietly behind the scenes. This shifted public perception completely, turning what once looked like a confident public romance into something seen by many as unstable, uncertain, and possibly shaped more for online attention than reality. At the same time, Remy Ma's quiet approach became even more noticeable. She stayed out of public disputes, avoided responding to online commentary, and continued focusing on her everyday life without engaging in the surrounding drama. As discussions online grew around topics like solo holidays, unexplained gaps in updates, and overly curated social media posts, many people began reassessing the entire situation. The narrative slowly shifted away from relationship drama and toward themes of image management, public perception, and emotional uncertainty. Some users even started questioning the source behind the luxury lifestyle being displayed online, which only added further doubt and intensified speculation about what was really happening behind the scenes. People began revisiting older interviews, social media posts, and public appearances, but this time with a completely different mindset. Moments that once felt natural to viewers started to appear staged or overly calculated. Even reactions that had originally seemed authentic were now, to some, coming across as rehearsed. As this change in perception spread, a new theory quickly gained traction online. Some users started questioning whether Claressa Shields had ever truly been chosen in the way she may have believed at the time. Instead, based on growing rumors and ongoing online discussions, others speculated that she might have only been one part of a far more complex situation unfolding behind the scenes. Public perception of Papoose also began to shift during this period. Instead of being seen as fully committed, some viewers started suggesting that he may not have been as emotionally or financially invested as previously assumed. Further allegations circulating online even implied that this behavior might not have been isolated, with certain discussions pointing to a possible pattern involving luxury gifts, expensive purchases, and carefully curated public gestures used to shape a specific image depending on the relationship or situation. As these claims spread across social media, users began linking different details together, forming a wider and more complex interpretation of the entire story. The narrative gradually developed into something much more complex than a straightforward relationship story. To many online observers, it started to resemble a situation involving a married man linked to multiple women, managing different personal dynamics away from public view. Within this interpretation, Claressa Shields was no longer seen as an isolated case, but rather part of a pattern that some people felt was becoming increasingly noticeable. Even as the discussions continued to grow online, Claressa still shared posts that portrayed the relationship as steady and secure. However, various reports and claims suggested that the reality behind the scenes may not have fully aligned with the image being presented to the public. The marriage that many believed was over appeared to quietly stabilize again without any official statement, with people only noticing small signs over time. Reports claimed Papoose suddenly returned to New York and then went silent publicly, leaving many questions unanswered. At first, Claressa Shields continued posting confidently as if nothing had changed, but gradually people began noticing a slow shift in her energy, suggesting something behind the scenes was no longer the same. Mushers were reportedly left unanswered, communication became distant, and reassurances no longer carried the same confidence as before. Social media users picked up on these shifts long before anything was openly confirmed, and instead of appearing in control, it began to look like a situation gradually slipping away. This change in tone only intensified online discussion, with side-by-side comparisons between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma spreading widely. Users pointed to similarities in outfits, poses, hairstyles, accessories, and captions, and what once seemed like coincidence was increasingly being interpreted in a very different way. Some viewers believed Claressa Shields was not just influenced by Remy Ma, but was deliberately trying to mirror parts of her image and lifestyle. The rumors about a tattoo added even more emotion to the discussion, with many saying that permanently marking the name of a married man who was still legally tied to another relationship changed how they saw the situation. Instead of romance, some interpreted it as a move driven by strong emotions and instability. Around the same time, Claressa was often seen alone in luxury settings and public appearances, while reports suggested the other side was quietly focusing on family life away from the spotlight, making the contrast even more noticeable for online audiences. Eventually, the issue shifted from the relationship itself to the gap between public image and reality. What once looked strong began appearing unstable, while Claressa Shields continued maintaining the same online narrative. Over time, her confidence seemed more defensive as viewers noticed inconsistencies, and with no clear explanations from those involved, the situation unfolded mostly through silence and speculation. In the end, it became less about love and more about image and perception, and many felt she lost not only the relationship but also control of the story she tried to protect publicly.